This is the buka that we have at the Museum of the Great Southern. The buka is a form of clothing that the Menang tribal group of the Great Southern would have typically worn. A buka traditionally was made of traditionally tanned kangaroo skins. The methodology of the tanning usually involved kala and fire, which is not typical to other Western tanning methodologies. Basically, the scraping of the hide and the sealing of the hide was done with fire, and then the construction method would be to bring it together bound with the use of kangaroo tail sinew. This buka that we have here is fairly typical of what all tribal members would have. Kinjaling, the region that we're in, is typically cold and temperate. So all members of the tribe from birth would have had a form of warmth, being the buka. And the buka was not just a form of a wearing, it was also then utilised once you were in your maya, your corn at night, as a blanket. So multiple use. Also, given that this is a very rainy place, the buka could be worn inside and out. Typically in rain, the fur will shed, and then when you wore it otherwise for warmth, fur inside. And it also was important because our mob, we're fire carriers, so we would often carry our fire inside our buka, and then it would go to the next person. So whilst you're actually walking, you have the warmth of fire in the kernel of heat, and you carry that in your buka. Also, a difference between our mob is we generally left our tails on, which differed from Eastern States Aboriginal tribal groups, which generally took their tails off and they made their pieces into squares and then connected them. Whereas our bukas tended to be more sympathetic to the hide shape and would be constructed with the hide in its entirety. It was usual that women's bukas were always made of female kangaroos, and it would take 3 to 4 skins for a female buka. A male buka, 6, maybe 7, and that's why in some very early photographs you can see the tails hanging from our mob. Male bukas also were usually rubbed inside with red ochre, and that was applied predominantly only for the men with emu fat, which gave the inner side of the hide the supple quality that you would need. I have a sense of sometimes loss, because all of us would have had a buka, and from a female perspective, all of us would have had that, our stick, our kulamon. These were the things that were part of our everyday life, and they don't exist anymore. I believe this perhaps is one of 8 bukas that are nationally in collections, and they represent great loss. Of course, you know, a hide, a skin, all of our artefacts that we used in our daily activities, they're ephemeral. You know, they would rot in the ground, they could well have been burnt, they have been collected. But I think it's really important that we re-establish our connection with the things that were principal in our lives as Menang Aboriginal people. And so it is very important that as we progress, that our elders get the opportunity to again have bukas, wear bukas in important ceremonial occasions, because after all, The kangaroo relationship with the Aboriginal person is a profound one. It is our food, it is our warmth, it is something that without we would not have been able to maintain our lifestyle in this region.